Hello, I am Martyn Baum from Reed and Baum Estate Agents in Charnwood, Leicestershire. And with me, I've got Oliver Dack. Ollie, introduce yourself, please.
Good afternoon, it's Ollie from Mortgage Advice Bureau, here to talk to you about mortgages.
So, Ollie, 100% mortgages are back. No deposit mortgages are back. For those of us that lived through the financial crash of 2007-8, it sends a shiver down our spines. But is that an overreaction? Can you put some light onto the news that broke last week that the Skipton Building Society have introduced this new no deposit mortgage, please?
The product is back and caught everyone by surprise. We'd heard rumours that it was likely to come back, but possibly not in the current climate, shall we say. But yeah, it's certainly good news, and people can now buy properties without a deposit at all. It's designed specifically for first-time buyers. So if you've ever owned a property, unfortunately, it's not for you. And there are a few other remits and criteria points that we would need to tick in order for you to be eligible. But certainly good news.
So I'm right in saying that normally a mortgage would be calculated you'll have a far more technical knowledge than I will, but 4 times, 4.5 times income, or whatever it may be. But this mortgage is slightly different. Is that right?
Yeah, so the calculators are still there to make sure that clients don't borrow too much, but it's classed as a track record mortgage. So a track record mortgage being you need to be able to prove that you've been paying your rent for a period of time, and it's a minimum of 18 months that you'd have to have been paying rent for in order to be able to prove that track record along with the other household bills. So the bank will take into account the affordability calculator. Maximum that you can borrow is still 4.49 times your income, which is the norm, I would say. There are other banks, building societies out there that will lend you more, but you would need to have a deposit in order to be able to borrow that cash. So if you haven't got a deposit and you're in the rental sector and fed up in paying rent, then it might be an option for you.
Because rental markets got very expensive. This is now more expensive to rent a property than own a property. So people have felt almost trapped in being a tenant and not being able to get into home ownership, which has always been pretty important to most people in Britain. But is there any concerns that people should be aware of? Is there anything that people should be just keeping an eye out? Any red flags coming down the track for these 100% mortgages?
So look, both you and I, we worked in the industry for a little while now, and we've seen house prices go up and down in that period of time. Naturally, borrowing 100% of what a property is worth, when house prices can go up as well as down, that can be a risk. The product itself is a 5-year fixed rate, so it is a 5-year commitment that you're going to be tying yourself into. So that is something that clients will need to be aware of. It's not the sort of thing that you should go in light-hearted with, shall we say, and it's not really designed for people that are thinking of maybe moving up the property ladder quite quickly. But certainly if it gets you out of that rental position into home ownership, then it's a good starter. I suppose risks wise, yes, as with any mortgage commitment, you could find that house prices do go down and find yourself in negative equity. But the only time which you'll ever find yourself in negative equity is at that point when you are selling the property. So naturally, if you're having this mortgage over a term of 25, 30, 35 years, you will see your debts reduce. So get to a point where you do own that property outright.
Okay, so these track record mortgages are there. Do we think that they're going to be something that we're going to see more and more of? And I'd just like your opinion in that if the average house price in England at the moment is around £300,000, would 5% deposit get you which would be £15,000, would that get you a mortgage that is better than a track record mortgage with no deposit, or should people just continue as they are doing, saving their money?
So look, if you're looking to get your first step onto the property ladder, then I think trying to save a deposit is a good starting point. Just being able to make sure that you have got a little bit of a buffer there and just give yourself a much wider choice of options. It is limited in the amount of lenders that are in the 100% space, and certainly this is the newest of the schemes that will allow you to buy without a deposit at all. So no family assistance whatsoever. But just going back to needing to pay rent for the last 18 months, your rent that you're paying will actually dictate the amount that you can borrow. And that's where maybe in the current climate with purchase or valuation of 300,000, that your rent might not be as expensive as what the new mortgage payments will be, which means that you could possibly only set your sights at something a little bit less. But I think for anybody that's been in rented, it's a good opportunity to maybe change that and own the roof over your own head.
And just looking a little bit wider, Ollie, we've got rates have just gone up again for is it the 12th time in succession? So we're now at 4.5%. Has that made a detrimental impact on the market, not just for first-time buyers, but generally? How healthy is the mortgage market feeling at the moment?
So that's probably where this type of scheme coming out it's a good thing for innovation in the mortgage market, but pricing is very sensitive, and pricing does look high on the high side, shall we say. It is a 5-year fixed rate at 5.49%, which when you're comparing to even just 12 months ago, when you're talking average rates of maybe 2.5%, 3% as a very maximum, it does look expensive. But I suppose as a wider subject, the mortgage market is relatively healthy, but whether rental has really caught up with mortgage payments is maybe another question altogether.
Okay. So anybody looking at taking a mortgage out in 2023, where should they start? What should they do?
So always the starting point is always speak to a mortgage broker. Go speak to a specialist, someone that has many options out there rather than just a bank or building society my pet hate is just Fred down the pub who is there that gives advice from the 1990s. Go speak to a specialist and hopefully they'll be able to point you in the right direction. We'll sit down with you to assess affordability, check what you're paying currently, what you're paying going forwards, and just make sure that you're borrowing within the right limits. And hopefully by the end of that conversation, you've got a good indication as to where next to go with things. And the answers will be, great, you're going to be eligible for something like this track record mortgage, whereby you can potentially go out and buy a property tomorrow. Or it might be sitting down and just mapping out where you're next going in the next 6, 12, 18 months, really just so that you've got the clear answers in order to make the decision as and when it's appropriate. If it does mean saving up a little bit more as far as deposit, then again, that's exactly what we'll look at. Instead of just pigeonholing you with just one product being 100%, let's not treat that as the only product that's available. Let's just see what's right for you. And I think the key part is any good broker worth their salt will know your circumstances, will be able to tailor the products that are available for you, and at the same time be able to present to you options as and when new products do come available, which certainly one lender going into the market space, I think there will be more that will follow, but how soon that will be is anybody's guess at this moment in time.
But find an expert with an unbiased view that sits on your side, collecting a member of your team that's going to look out for you and get you the best deal and have their finger on the pulse for new deals that might be coming to the market. Now, people can find out more about you, Ollie, and get in contact with you via the Martyn Baum website, because we are strategic partners together. But if not, what's the best way for them to find information and get a hold of you and your team?
So best way is to pick up the phone, I would say. 01603 40 50 70. Just give us a call, put some time in the diary, and it can be as little as 15-20 minutes to have an initial chat. But from that side of it, we will then just make sure that we're pointing in the right direction and go from there.
Fabulous. Thank you ever so much, Ollie. I think that's been really insightful.
You're welcome.